Hello and welcome to part 2 of the color mixer program. In part 1, we began working on this little panel here, and we set up this guy. This guy is what we set up. And if you remember, just to show you, we have this. We can change the color that gets drawn over there if we have an alpha value to display it with. 0 alpha made that not show up. And I wanted to get rid of the flickering that happened when you scrolled through this and you changed that color, because that flickering is hideous and I don't like it. And I also wanted you to be able to specify stuff there and double click on that to bring up stuff. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is come here and I'm going to add a user control. Hooray! And I'm going to call this one double buffered panel. And we are going to come over here and we are going to take this and we're going to say true. Save it. Build the project so it shows up in our control list. That's all we need to do with that. It's super easy. So let's take preview and let's see. What's the way that I want to do this? What I'm going to do actually, this is let's see. I'm going to change this in a way that instills less stuff to me. So I'm going to take this and make it a double buffered panel. Let's see. Does that build? No, that's fine. Double buffered panel. Okay, cool. That builds. So that should be all that we need to do there. And now this should be a double buffered panel. Let's check. Give ourselves some alpha value. Give ourselves some red. Yeah, yep. See what's going on there? I'm changing these things and it's not flickering hideously. That is a double buffered panel, folks. That's why you sometimes need stuff double buffered. So when you're drawing stuff like this, double buffered will prevent the flicker. Okay. It does take up more memory because you're drawing to two surfaces at once. You're basically drawing to two surfaces rather than one. But by doing that, it means that you don't like draw to the screen like a partially drawn thing, if that makes sense. So that gets rid of the flicker. The thing that you will note is I kind of did the change a different way. Basically, I told the underlying code that creates this thing that Windows the Visual Studio automatically creates. I said, hey, let's just replace that with a double buffered panel. It's like, okay. I'm also going to shrink this a bit because I can make this shorter. We're going to have multiple of these, so being able to make this shorter is good. I don't know if I want to make it wider or not. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to default value alpha to 255. Okay. What next? Let's get our standard dialog in. Here's dialogues. Color dialog is what we want. Let's drag and drop it in here. It pops it down here. Let's name this color dialog. Any color true. Full open is true because we're going to want that by default. Solid color only is false. Should allow you to be able to select alpha values. We'll see what it does. Okay. So what we want to do then is come in here. I'm going to put it up here. Preview dot double click. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. And I want to color dialog dot color equals get color. Color dialog dot show dialog, and I want to put if this is equal to result okay, that means the user wanted to do it and they didn't cancel it. So it's really important with certain things to determine whether or not you're doing that. So then what I want to do, I'm going to actually make a new function up here called public color set color. Decimal R, decimal G, decimal B, decimal A. Oh, this should be a void. Okay. That's the color. Okay, so I'm setting up this thing for a couple of reasons that will become apparent. It'll be useful. The red component of the color from 0 to 255. Okay. Again, the great secret of programming is that you copy paste everything and then change stuff. If you hold down Control, it will move by like full words, as it were. So that allows you to be able to move more quickly with the arrow keys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down here. No, yeah. And I'm going to add a bool. I'm going to call this changeLock, and I'm going to prefix it with an underscore so I can find it easily. Set a false and go if changeLock return. So what this is going to do is if changeLock is true, then this function will just quit out right away and not do anything, which I want because set color is going to set RGB and A, and I don't need to do those things that it does multiple times. That's just not what I want. So I'm going to set changeLock to true, and then I'm going to go a.value equals, actually, I'm going to go ahead and just go A equals A, R equals R, G equals G, and B equals B. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is, if you remember, these do what we call bounds checking. So it keeps the value between 0 and 255. And I want the value to be between those. So changeLock equals false, preview.invalidate, and update text. Because I want to do that, that right here. I do want to update the hex text. So what we're then going to do is when this dialog is true, or when the user says that they want to use it, we're going to do, let's see, color dialog color equals color dialog dot color, and then set color dlg color dot r dlg color dot g dlg color dot b and dlg color dot a. Okay, so that then should update it. So let's check this to make sure this is working. So now when I double click it, I get this guy. So most of you are probably familiar with this. It's pretty standard. I don't know how to set alpha with it, which is part of why I have this control over here. But if I hit OK, now it set it. So that's really, really handy. By the way, if you want just the RGB, you can copy that. So certain art programs, photo manipulation programs like Paint.net have the ability to specify a hex code. So you can like copy and paste this potentially. I might later look up which order it has it in and modify this to support that same order, but I'm not going to do that right now. So that dialog now works, and I can go over to something like, hey, I want this color, and now it does this. And that tells me it's 400080 or 640128 and 255 in the alpha, obviously. Okay. I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to change this back color to control light. The reason is because it will, if it's on control, it will inherit its color from its bottom control, and I don't want that. I'm also going to take its border style and give it a default border style, a fixed single, which just gives it a line around it. That's not going to show up here because this one is an already made one and doesn't have our default values. But it will show up on new ones that we will be making. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is xcode dot let's see, is it key down, key press? I think this might be what I want. Okay, so what I want, yeah, thank you. That lets you update the name if you want. Key dot char. I don't want key char. I want. Okay, this might not be what I want then. There's a couple of different functions, and this is not the one that I want because this has the post process. I think I want key up, or maybe I'm going to go with key up. Let's see if this does what I want. Yeah, okay, this is what I want. So I want the key code. So if key code is equal to keys dot return, then I'm going to want to do some processing. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is changelog should be, no, I don't need to do that. Okay, so I want to split this up. So one of the things I'm going to need to decide is what is going to be the default if there isn't enough. So first thing I'm going to do is put a TryCatch around this. This will catch any exceptions because it's very possible that something will go wrong. Let's just call this error. Something will go wrong in the conversion process because we're going to be doing a lot of converting. So I want string r equals hex code dot text dot substring 0, 2. I think that should work. Again, secret programming, copy pasta, GBA. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, and each of these should be 2 characters long. That's length, cool. And then what I want to do is conversion. Yeah. So how am I? Let's see, convert. Do any of these support specifically? Let's see, int 32. Actually, what I think I might want to do is I might want to set up a manual conversion process. And the reason for that is I'm not sure if these convert from hexadecimal. So let's just make a decimal from hex stringster. Okay. So the way that this is going to work is okay. That color. Actually, so I want to go decimal r part equals from hex r. G, whoop, B, A. G, B, A. The reason why I'm doing it this way is I could put it all in the call for the function, which was going to look like this. This is a little bit cleaner. The other reason, though, it's not just visual. It's if I break it out like this, then if any of these throw an exception, they'll catch it before they go into this function, which is preferable. Okay, so message box dot show. Let's see, error dot message. Error occurred. Okay. And error. Okay. So this little message box will let the user know that an error occurred. So then what I want to do here, let's see, what's going to be the best way of handling this? Probably a giganto switch statement. So I'm going to add decimal process hex helper, and I'm going to go char C. And then this is going to have a giant switch on C. Default, return 0. Hooray. Case 0, return 0. Case 1, return 1. Case 2, return 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, let's go through and fix these. Again, programming has a lot of copy, paste, and change stuff. Okay, then I need case A, case capital A. Return 10. And let's see, A, B, C, D, E, F. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Because base 16, of course, goes from 0 to 15. 16 is represented by 1, 0, which we would traditionally call 10, but is not 10. Wait, no. Sorry, I lost myself. That's B, C, D, E, and, of course, F. So doing this allows me to be able to process individual characters, which is great. Let's see. So then I need to go. Whoa. Int I equals 0. Actually, what I want to do is I want to process the string backwards, because that's going to go in increasing value, if that makes sense. So string dot length. No, stir dot length. Sorry, wrong thing. -1, because that's the last character. I is greater than or equal to 0, plus I. For loops, by the way, if I haven't mentioned it, this is an initial value. This is the condition under which the loop will continue, and this is what it does at the end of each loop. So I'm going to have decimal value equals 0. And then I'm going to return a value. Giving the return made this happy because it's supposed to return something. Converts a character to its corresponding corresponding value, assuming the character is part of a hex string. Hex, I'm going to say number. Hex decimal digit to convert into decimal. Converted value. Okay. Converts a hex number into decimal. The hex number to convert and the converted value. Now it may have something for this inbuilt already, but I'm not sure, and it's a good exercise, I guess, to write it myself. Okay, so let's see. I need to think about this to make sure I'm getting the right value, or I could just write it and see what I get. So I think that I need is value plus equals 10 times. No, it's not 10 times I. It's math dot how okay, I'm gonna need a couple of. I'm gonna make another variable here. Int place equals 0. Yeah, and then plus place. Okay, so here I'm going to need 10 and place. And then this needs to get converted because that's, of course, a double into a decimal. I could really just make my own, but might as well just use that. Times process hex helper at I. So let's think about that. I give it FF should be 255. So that's what? So I see 15 and then I add that 150, 165. Okay, so this is not actually functional. And do I times equal the value? That doesn't sound quite right either. So let's see. I'm just thinking about how this would work. And I want to make sure that my math is sound, and it is not. Because this is, I think this is 15 that I need here. This would give me 225. Now I'm confused. Let's see. I can just kind of throw stuff at it until it sticks, but that doesn't seem quite right. Because 15 times 15 is 225, right? No. Yeah? Yeah, because 1.5 times 1.5 is 2.25. So at 0, that would be 1. That would be 1, which would be 15. So FF would get me 15 plus 15 times 2, 15 times 15. That'd be an incorrect result. Needs to be 16 times 15. So if I make that a 6, I think it would work. Because that would be let's run calc on it. I think you saw where I save things, so that's okay. Okay, so if I have 16 times 15 plus 15, that works. So if I have 16 times 16 times 15, that gets me that. That would be, is that just F00? Yeah, that should be F00. So let's go to programmer and see if I go hex and I go F00 and decimal. Okay, that looks like that works. Okay, that makes sense because this is how much each digit is worth in base 16. So that makes sense why that would be, that I'd need a 16 there. So hopefully this works. I will find out shortly. Yeah. And that should update rendering. Okay, well, let's see what happens. If I come in here and I put an FF here and I hit enter, oh, something explodes. Okay. So, what we want to do, we want to put a breakpoint in there. Then we want to come back to our color mixer and we want to hit enter again. So the good news is hitting enter brings us in here, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. So that's the text. So 0, 2, that's FF, 0, 0, 0, 0. And this is probably the part where it exploded. No? That's 0, 0. Up. F11 to go in. So I should be 1. Oh. Okay, so this is a really easy trap to fall into. I plus instead of minus minus. I needed to minus minus. Most of the time you're counting up, not down. So that threw me for a big loop. Okay, now if I go FF, FF, yeah, now that's red. If I delete a couple characters, then yeah. Index and length must refer to a location within the string. Parameter name length. This exploded because we didn't have enough stuff. And that makes sense. The process helper, or this probably exploded because this couldn't index into it. So what we want to do is we want to go in here and go, if stir.length is less than equal to 0, it can't actually be less than 0, but I like to be thorough. Throw new exception error. Actually, so we can have this throw an exception, or we can just have this return 0. And I'm going to have this return 0 because I'm going to say if you don't give me a string, it has a value of 0. I'm just going to add this to the comments here. So we're saying, hey, if you give us a bum string, we don't have any value. So that should fix that particular issue. So like, let's check. Ah, okay. Interesting. So why would that... Oh, it's probably these right here are what are exploding in part. Yeah. So each one of these was exploding because there wasn't enough length to them. So we can fix that by going like this. So equals 0, 0, or equals nothing, because that's the same thing as 0, 0. And then if hex code dot text dot length is greater than equal to 2, r equals this. Okay, so then I can come in here. Or actually, what I want is I want this part. Okay, So what I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting a new line. Actually, I should start. And then go boop, boop. And again, G, B, yes, B, and A. And then I can go over here and say if it's at least 4, it's at least 6, and if it's at least 8. Now when I try that, hopefully it doesn't explode on me like that. Yeah, now it just fills in with zeros when you hit enter. So I can go FF and hit enter, and it will be like, well, you got all your reds, but you don't have any alpha, so you can't see anything. But that allows us to be able to work with this, and we can work with this, and we can work directly with those. So those are the different ways that I wanted to be able to directly manipulate color. There is, however, one more bit that I'm going to need to this, and that's going to be parts. Because what we're going to be doing in the next part of this program, because we're at the end of this episode, but what we're going to be doing in the next episode is we're going to be adding a part value, and then we're going to be making it so that we can add a bunch of colors together to get some master color. Okay? And those are going to be in parts. So now you know what to look forward to next time. So join me then. Thank you for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.